This is our first episode, and this is Koty with All the Way Gray. Mack is sitting out due to he's a little bit sick. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to first thank our two people who've actually helped us support the show most. Is Tweety, for thank you for everything you've provided with us and give us a lot of insight and tips on how you want this to sound. And thank you again for the soundboard. And thank you again, Tank, as well, for always pushing us and always trying to give us criticism to always push us a little bit forward. And our first guest here today is Richard from Richard's Figures. What's up, dude?
What's up?
All right.
How are you?
I'm great. You?
I am good.
That's good. So, question. Is Ghost the best movie with clay?
Ghost? I'm not
Ghost. The one with Patrick Swayze, Whoopi Goldberg, the famous scene where she's he sits behind her and he starts rolling up the clay, kind of. You ever seen that?
I actually have not seen that.
Wow, okay. So let's see then. Then, what about, is there any, big clay things you think of, like terracotta soldiers or any, muses as well with that, or?
I mean, of course, I know of the terracottas, that was a major discovery over in China, and, they were well sculpted, obviously, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it true that I read up I read up a couple things about them, but the terracotta soldiers, where all of them actually had different faces. A lot of them did as well with that. They were
Yes.
individual people as well.
Yes.
How long do you think it would take just to do one of those?
I honestly bet the kingdom probably commissioned different artists to create each one of those.
Yeah.
Is what I would imagine, because sculpting just one face, it takes time, obviously, and to have each of their bodies to be similar in ways, you had to have something going for it.
Yeah. Okay. So, what really got you into the whole sculpting thing? What was the initial drive that really got you started into you want to sculpt, you want to create with your hands, kind of?
Honestly, it's always been about me from my childhood, creating from a very young age. I've always drawn, but I've also always loved toys. Just simply put, I just like the way they look, looking at the details, just how someone created that just has always inspired me.
Okay.
And then eventually got to the point where I actually had a knack for it. So,
What kind of toys do you play with?
I guess I don't really play with them anymore.
I know, but back in the day. I don't expect you to play with G.I. Joe still.
I would always do, of course you had your Jurassic Park, who doesn't love those toys and stuff? Started off with dinosaurs, but then moved slowly to more of the kaiju, the Godzilla, that kind of giant monster stuff. And always liked the movies. That always hit my fancy.
I'm not gonna lie, I used to watch the shit out of them when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I used to watch them all the time. I remember when I was a little kid, I actually asked my dad, it was when internet was first establishing, and my dad bought Godzilla vs. King Kong when I was a little kid.
Classic.
And it was my favorite movies growing up. I watched that, I watched Tremors, I watched Jurassic Park. I've always had a weird thing for different things with it, sci-fi, monsters. I've always had a big interest in those as well. I just never really been a big artist. So it's
oh yeah.
Yeah, so did you always want to sculpt? When you drew, did you ever think about going more into that as well eventually, painting or drawing, or?
I've delved deep into all of them.
Yeah.
I got my BFA in sculpture just recently, so I'm an official artist now. I have the paper, but what was nice about going to school is that you could learn about all the different mediums and kind of dive into them. And I found that I like to do them all, and it just turns out not as many people are good in sculpture, and I just loved doing it. So I'm just let's continue this and let's just make it my major.
Yeah.
So.
What was a BFA?
It's basically just mostly a regular degree with a bit more work. So
okay.
It's a Bachelor of Fine Arts. That's what it means.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I honestly didn't go to school, though, so that's the issue. So, what kind of clay do you use? I know there's different kinds of clays. There's some you can cook with, some you just build out with, and I was kind of curious, what kind of clay do you usually use?
So earlier you mentioned the terracotta warriors.
Yeah.
That's what type of clay it is. Like
Yeah.
it's terracotta. It's the most forgiving. I have used that, but I tend to go away from kiln-based
Okay.
clays because you have to have a kiln to bake them and all that stuff. So I went over to oil-based clay.
Okay.
So oil-based clay is basically clay that will never harden. It will never change its like its presence. It's always soft. So you can there's good and bad towards using oil-based clay, but
So it's like really malleable, where you can always.
it's very malleable.
So you can always adjust if you need to adjust if you need to, or.
But that's also the bad thing. You don't have an official piece until you mold it.
Okay.
So.
What's like the drying process of it? Does it take like hours to dry, or you have to bake it, or?
It won't dry at all.
Oh, it won't ever dry.
So you can mold it. You'll be using silicone.
Yeah.
So you'll essentially have like a tub that you'll have to put your sculpture in. This is my favorite and the easiest way to mold.
Yeah.
But it's called a dump mold, and you just take your sculpture, create a border around it, and then just pour some silicone in there, and then it makes it so like the silicone will cure, and then you'll be able to remove your piece. The piece will most likely be destroyed because obviously, like I said, the clay is malleable and it stays malleable, but you'll
Get
flip
a
that
mold out of
over
it.
and then you'll cast it in whatever type of stuff you want to cast it in.
Oh, okay. So it's like how they do with like toys and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
How
you're making duplicates.
Oh, okay. So that makes more sense. So it's easier to replicate. Do you keep the molds then, or you dispose them, or?
Yes. That's why I always hate it when they have those like memoir molds. You know, the ones where they put their hands in the silicone. Those bother me so much because I'm just like, you're breaking the mold. You're ruining it.
I actually never thought about that. Like, I didn't know. Like, I always assumed like when it was a clay, you bake it and that's it. But I only went to school for I had one art class for pottery, and that was my basics.
Yeah. I mean, like for this piece, the Godzilla that I've brought in today, he's actually not made of oil-based clay.
Okay.
He's not a cast, so he's very fragile.
Yeah.
He's not resin or any of that stuff. He is made out of Sculpey, if you've ever heard of that. It's like a polymer-based clay, and it's actually very malleable. It's almost rubberized. This clay you will actually bake, and it'll as you could see, it'll get hard, and then you can paint it and all that stuff. But the bad thing is that doing dump molds on that, especially with him having limbs and stuff, it'll definitely break them. Like, this is a finished piece, whereas oil-based clay is not a finished piece.
Okay. So when you paint these ones, then, is it like you use an airbrush, you just paint normally, or do you spray paint, or?
I just paint normally. I haven't actually experimented with airbrush yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious, actually. So the one thing I was always wondering about, like, when you create stuff like that, like, how do you see the details on that stuff? Like, do you just find, like, multiple pictures online? Because I could see the movie Godzilla, but I wouldn't be able to tell you how many spines he had on his back or anything like that directly.
I mean, like, when I do something like this, like a Godzilla-based piece, obviously I'm looking at the source material. Like, without it, I wouldn't be able to create as accurate of pieces as I am with this subject matter. Whereas other things I like to do is like my own work, it's less based on things, so I don't need as many references, but the reason why I get references is because I like to combine the imaginative with the real.
Okay. So on your own pieces then, like I saw you did the one that you created from your comic book that you wrote, you said.
Yeah.
The one from your YouTube video that I'll post up right here in the video, that one, was that like a free landscape mind? Like you just thought of it and just started making him, or did you draw him already out and then you knew how he was going to look when you started designing him kind of out of clay, or?
So essentially, like, when I made him as a comic book character way back in, I think it was 10th grade or something like that, he was drawn. He was 2-dimensional, and I had the ideas. But the thing that I did recently is I just took what he was and modernized it and made it 3D. Basically, I was just like, oh, how do goggles look in 3D? And then so I thought about those references, and then I thought about his characteristics and what his costume looked like, and I'm like, oh, he's a space adventurer, so let's add a spacesuit on him.
Okay.
And then obviously he's a guinea pig, so he's gotta have that weird looking face.
Yeah.
So
I mean, people like guinea pigs though, so I mean,
yeah.
I think it's like it's not really that far from the norm anymore. I mean, look at Guardians of the Galaxy. They have a raccoon and everything. They have a tree, and it's like.
I mean, stuff like that is like amazing to me because like I would like to have my characters in like movies like that.
Yeah.
But like I love to create mine also very animated at the same time. So like it's the same concept that I was talking about earlier. It's very imaginative meets the real.
Okay. So when you're like building all that stuff, do you have like someone you look up to, like someone you idolize well with that, who does sculptures well with that, or do you look at the greats where they built out of marble and stuff like that, or is it just like your own, like I can just do it myself kind of?
Of course I always like a lot of like sculptures and sculptors that I see, but I've never been like truly inspired by anyone specific. Like I mean, like I said, the kaiju genre, like I just love that stuff, and it's not necessarily the artist behind it. Of course, you have to have the artist to make the suits and stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily that. That's what made it for me.
Okay. So what really got you into kaiju then? Was it like you just fell in love with it, like one of those things that you just kind of dive into and just you stay in it?
Yeah, you just like.
Because I've known you for a couple of years now, and you've always been obsessed with Godzilla. I remember when you came over and played the Godzilla game on the PlayStation 4. We'd always talk about it as well.
I mean, it's such a stupid concept, but you just love it. Like it's like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World.
Yeah.
You go to the movie because you want to see dinosaurs, not because you're looking for something that with the most depth.
Okay. So is it true that the 2004 Godzilla is the best Godzilla ever?
2004? I mean, that's Godzilla Final Wars, but...
Oh, is it? Okay. Which was the one with Matthew Broderick?
The Matthew Broderick.
That's my bad. I messed the years up.
So that one would be 1998, and... you could say it's an interesting movie, but not really a Godzilla flick.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I remember like reading online the forums about that, and everyone like battered that movie. It wasn't like it's not Godzilla. That's not how Godzilla looks. It's nothing like him directly.
I mean, deservedly so, because like, I mean that when people are watching a Godzilla movie, they're not looking for that. Like the Independence Day, like that, which was obviously the same director. So like. They weren't looking for that type of feel, so...
That guy's got a bad string of movies, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's... Independence Day was probably his best one, but then he made 2012. Then he made...
Oh, he made 2012?
Yeah, he made 2012, too. He's big into those disaster movies. Which
is fine.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. Like, if you want to make disaster porn, go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, in my BFA statement that I did for my final gallery show, I even said, there's a beauty in the destruction. Like, I mean, not saying, go destroy buildings, but I'm saying artistically that stuff can look really nice.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why there's so many videos nowadays of everything blowing stuff up and putting in slow motion because it's like people like to see just as beautiful as it is in normal state as it is getting destroyed too.
I mean it definitely goes like to say like when I see like someone like messing with my pieces, that's a little different.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. It's like your artwork kind of. It's something that's part of you directly.
Because like the sets they build for movies, they literally destroy them for fun, and it works. It works for that sense because it was built to be destroyed. But in my sense, I'm just like I'm trying to produce this.
You don't want to destroy anything you make. I get that. So I mean. With that, then, how long does it really take to make them? Like the Godzilla one right here in front of us, how long did it take to really make that, you think?
So that's another thing with like oil-based clay versus Sculpey.
Yes.
This one is built in. Is that Sculpey actually does detail very well. You can like use your tool marks and then like get it, move it in the right way. But it's more, as I said, more rubberized, so it's easier to carve.
Okay.
Whereas the oil base is easier to move.
Now, do you buy all your tools, or do you make any tools? Because I know there's a couple people who do make their own tools and they use it for a little bit better. But I know some people prefer buying tools. Same thing like doctors and surgeons. They sometimes design and make their own tools because they know something works better than what they can buy or anything like that.
I have made my own tools. Like there's this thing, it's like a rake tool that I just used an old bass string and like
from a guitar?
Yeah,
oh,
like a bass, and like my friend had some iron piping and then or copper piping, and we just stuck it in there and then kind of made a ring out of it, and then we hammered it down so it would stay, and then like that's our rake tool. It blends things together. It's like when you're making the form, like let's say I'm trying to like make it so it's smoother together, the clay attaches, I rake it down.
Okay. So when you do all that, then I have a hard time like grasping like a lot of things with my hands. I'm not really like technical like building stuff, or when it comes to like anything malleable. Like when I try playing with Play-Doh, I can barely make spaghetti with it. I'm just not good with it in general. So I always wondered exactly how long it took, like the Godzilla pieces or your guinea pig piece, stuff like that. Like what's the average, would you think? Like an hour, a couple hours, days, 3 or 4 days, weeks?
So I guess we'll just use this piece as an example, and definitely multiple days.
Okay.
Because like I have to keep my hand like super calm and super like
precise and
not moving, and I'm like gotta make the muscle structure, make sure that is. And I'll say it myself, like I'm not the fastest worker. Like
I mean, good things come in patience though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm just like. I may not be fast, but as long as it looks good, I think should be just fine then.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, with this then, so with the sculptures and all that, with your Patreon, what's the exact goal? But with your page and your YouTube and all that, is it just to share your content? Is it to teach? Is it?
It's a little bit of like all of it, really.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to show people what joys you can come out of just making weird crap, really. And like also trying to like show people that, like I said, just
so you
fun.
embrace the weird pretty much, like
oh
that.
Yeah,
like you embrace like the different, the unnormal.
I mean, how many YouTube channels do you see like of a guy just sculpting and then talking about his weird creations?
Yeah, true. I mean, that's the cool thing about that though, is when you have like a mindset that works like that, it's always interesting to see what people create. Like I have a friend who's an artist, and they'll just draw certain things they really like about certain parts. Like some people will draw eyes only, some people will draw lips only, some people will draw monsters only. I know one person who only drew aliens for a while too, and it's like it's interesting to see stuff like that, because it's like the inner workings of someone's mind is a little bit different than everyone else's. So it's like when you see like their artwork express what their mind's thinking, it's really like looking into what they really do or what they really like to do, like a passion.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I always find that interesting as well with that, and so it's like I'm always kind of curious exactly like how people can do that directly, because I write, but I'm not like a good writer. I'm not like a professional or anything by any means. But I've had some people say my writing is decent, but it's like definitely nothing that I am proud of, or nothing I like to share out directly yet to people.
Okay.
It's stuff that like this stuff I can see exactly where you'd be proud of it and you'd share it as well with that. And when you create this stuff, you had to have like a good understanding of like anatomy and everything. Is that right? Or
oh yeah, I've had a total of 3 figure study courses.
Oh so. Damn, that's
so not my favorite courses.
No, so I mean,
but you gotta have them.
Yeah,
like, they're essential to creating like muscle structures and all that stuff, and understanding how the skeleton works and the muscles twitch and do weird things.
Okay, so with those courses, are they like same courses that other people take for other classes too, or is it strictly for art?
They can. The one that I took was for sculpture, so it was like a figure study for sculpture. They have drawing the figure, they have painting the figure. I never took those because I I've never liked the painting, the way they teach the painting courses anyways. So,
Okay.
and I was just like, it makes sense more to like sculpt this
Okay.
rather than that. And it was required in my major anyways, so.
Okay, so when you're doing all this stuff as well, then. No, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Long day. No, so kind of curious exactly then, when you're creating this, what was like your first creation then, what do you think? I mean, what was the first time you really sculpted a mold that you were proud of it, kind of? Not mold, sorry, clay. And like you really got proud of it and started showing it off. What was your first one, do you remember?
That I started showing off, I mean, I've been like building stuff out of clay like since I was young, actually.
damn.
I mean, like, I'd say my dad probably actually pushed me in the direction to actually just do sculpture. I mean, I was just like, wait, I do have a knack. Why don't I just keep doing this? So,
What do you think? What do you think's the weirdest thing you built then yet? Like, if anything,
Weirdest thing?
like the Godzilla is cool, but I'm curious. Is there anything like
Yeah.
really weird out there you've made, or is there anything that's kind of like out there a little bit beyond the norm, or something you really haven't shown off, but it's like it's a little bit different? So I'm going to show you because I know there's some like writing I've done that I don't like to show people because I'm like, this is a little out there
yeah.
of the norm. So I mean,
Yeah.
this is for a different kind of person to read or look at.
I generally like to keep that on the down low because
Yeah.
like nobody wants to see that, or they do because it's like weird and stuff. But like I generally like my content to be like just friendly to everyone, like
Yeah.
not like kind of singling people out. I don't like to do that. I mean, of course, like I do monsters and that's the main thing of what I do, but it just happens to be that, and I feel that anyone can enjoy that subject matter.
Yeah, it is. So I mean, with all this like stuff that you're building, the YouTube channel, the Patreon, all that, where did that sense of teaching come from for you? Think like where do you want to start teaching people as well with that to learn? Is it just something that you feel like is something that you want to give out to the community, or is it just something you've always done, kind of?
I guess I've always kind of liked kind of teaching. Like I remember there are like basic students and in sculpture class they're sitting there late at night and I'm just working because I like to work at nights.
Yeah.
And like they're just struggling getting their projects done, and I'm just like, oh, if you just do this, add a little meat there, add a little this there.
So,
And I just kind of like liked helping them out just because I liked it. Like,
Yeah.
Not necessarily like, I mean, they obviously would like help and needed a little bit of help, but
so it always just kind of came natural to you, it feels like then. Just
Yeah,
like
just
where,
kinda natural.
or you see people that need help, you're going to be there to help them with it. I get that.
yeah.
So, when it comes like really teaching that stuff, do you ever have like, I don't know if I'm trying to ask this question, it's the main thing. I'm trying to see exactly what would be the best way to answer this. For anything like people who want to learn differently, or the different styles of clay making directly, like I know a lot of clay people who make clay, they have to be detail oriented as it gets. Is there some that aren't really detail, where they like the unconstructed look almost, or stuff like that, where yours is like more refined, and there's
Yeah.
some like just leave it as a deconstructed looking piece that doesn't look finished, but they like the way it looks?
Yeah, I generally, as you can tell, I kind of avoid abstract.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, when it comes to sculptural abstract, it can be really interesting. When you're working with stone, I would say.
Okay.
Because, like, that takes a lot of work to grind that thing down. But, like, when you're working with clay, I think it's just always best to just do as much as you can, put in as much detail. And I've always liked, as you can tell, figures.
Yeah.
And I like the full form. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the human figure, but like it is needed to create things. But when it comes to abstract and all that stuff, it's cool, but it kind of stops.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you go from there? Like, whereas like I feel that like pieces with detail, you're like, oh, this line, and then I can follow this line and go around here and then go there. I know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm getting with it. And that's fine. If you like that, embrace it. But if you're looking for abstract and looking for all that loop-de-loops and all that crap,
Looks
go
somewhere
for
else.
it.
Yeah.
Go for it. But that's not what I like to do.
I get that. Hey, so you were saying with stone. Have you ever built with stone actually then? Or have you ever tried using anything like stone at all? Or
You have to do a couple projects, like, starting out,
Yeah.
because my professor was a stone sculptor.
Okay.
Like, that's his main forte. But, like, I did those projects, and then I tried to do it again, and I was just like, nope, I'm out, I'm done. It's just like, for all the hard work you put into it, there's not enough payoff.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, you have to grind it down with, like, big power tools, and then you have to move it from there, and, like, and then you have to sand it down, and then if you don't do it, like, at certain speeds and, like, certain things
You
here
get
and
different
there,
textures and stuff
it's
like
just
that.
like, you got to make it consistent, and if you can't do that, then your stone doesn't even look good, and, like, it's not consistent and all that stuff. And generally what you want to do with stone is make abstract pieces.
Yeah.
And what do I not like?
It's abstract pieces.
Abstract pieces.
I get that. So I mean, are there any other passions you have besides like doing the clay models or teaching or anything like that? Is there any other passions you think you have?
I mean, I love to sketch.
Okay.
Like, I've always got my sketchbook on me, and
Yeah.
like, always ready to create something new, just like whatever I'm thinking of, or if I'm just bored or something.
Yeah. So with you saying you don't like the human figure as much, is there anything like when you sketch, you just sketch out of your mind, or do you sketch places or sketch people directly, or
My sketching tends to be more like cartoonish.
Okay.
Like, it's like a combination. Like, I don't like the regular shading. It's a lot like,
is it like Little Tyler, like De Leon style, like how he does the anime style drawing, or
kind of, but like, it's more of a, like I said, like, combine the realistic with the imaginative.
Okay.
So some parts are kind of really exaggerated, but other parts are like, they have like details, they have certain muscle structures. I know some cartoons like to have, like, they'll have their 5 fingers. Like, I mean, I like the chibi style a lot.
What's chibi?
Chibi, it's like very small. Like, generally, I've got a set of monsters I've made.
Okay.
Generally have like big heads,
Little bodies. and
little
all?
bodies, exaggerated eyes, all that stuff. So it's kind of cutesy,
Okay.
but like, it really depends, like, because it's kind of more comic booky, I would
Okay.
say. How they have like semi-realistic,
But then they'll add
things,
some cartoonish features
but they'll add
to
some
embellish
things
stuff
to
like out of
make
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, I mean, because my passions really are only writing, really. Like,
Yeah.
writing and maybe going to the gym. But, I mean, other than that, there's not many really passions I have directly besides, like, this podcast. And, honestly, I just like asking people. I like talking. As
Yeah.
you've known, I love to talk. I've been I've like, anyone who knows me knows I just continuously talk and I won't shut up. That's why I got kicked out of school. So I got in a lot of trouble in school. But it's like...
And I'm the opposite.
Yeah, but it's like, the thing is, like, you have a great voice. I have, like, this little weird, higher tendency voice, which is kind of there, but it's like...
As long as you own it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, nothing really bothers me, though. It's the thing. Like, I've been called every name in the book. Nothing really bothers me anymore. So it's like, I own everything I am. So it's like, I know I'm my own flaws. I know my mistakes. And so guess what? I know I'm short. It's fine. I get it. I'm like, it's easier for me to bend down and grab stuff. I'm fun-sized. I should be on a Hot Topic shirt, I'm sure, somewhere. But I'm used to it. And so it's like, I don't know, I find, like, interesting to see other people's passions, like stuff that I never thought of or I never thought I could do directly as well. I mean, I would love to try doing clay, but it's like, the last time I tried anything with clay, I made a mug that didn't hold anything. Like, it had holes in it and
Holes in the
everything.
bottom, all
Oh
that
my
stuff.
goodness! Because we put this, and it was the ugliest glaze we chose too.
Oh.
I chose a black glaze, and I apparently didn't put it on thick enough or something, because it was like you could see the clay through it entirely, like on both sides as well, where it was just like sheen, but you'd see right through it.
Oh, yeah.
So, have you ever worked with the glazes and stuff like that as well, then, or do you like make
I-
pottery ever like
I
that?
have
or
done some of that in the past, but like,
Just avoid
generally
it,
that's
yeah.
like what I give away at Christmas. Because I'm just like, this is like, it's funny to me. Like, I have all respect for ceramicists as what they do.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine, but I love to make fun of them. It's just like, it's a weird passion of mine. Like, Like, I'm always just like, oh, you're taking ceramics. Good
Ooh.
for you. You make pots.
I feel like they'd be the aloof people of the art world, kind of like I can make a vase better than you could ever make anything else.
They're fun to mess with. Like, mostly when like you're just sitting there in sculpture doing your thing. Because like what I've noticed is that if you're taking sculpture, you generally like the form, the subject matter. If you're a ceramicist, you like the process generally. That's what I've noticed. Like, you like that it is like clay. You like clay. You just want to play in the mud.
Okay.
Whereas, like, I feel like with sculpture, although I work with clay, and I know how like it has its gimmicks and all that stuff, it's just like to make a pottery versus a sculpture, something that stands as is and looks cool.
Okay. So do you have any new recent projects you're working on right now then, would you think? Or
A lot of the stuff on the show, really.
okay, so like the little gerbil dude?
Yeah, like...
Or guinea pig. It's a rodent.
They're all rodents, yeah.
Yeah, they're all rodents.
But,
they all kind of have the same face.
For the next month, I'll probably create some more of the space adventurers.
Okay.
Like, you got... there's this kind of like fat bear I'm working on that like he's kind of just like the tech of the group brigade.
Okay.
And then you got like,
what's it called, the group brigade?
Like the brigade, like that's
okay.
what he's part of, but like they're the space adventurers.
Okay.
Like,
have you ever thought about actually writing that comic out again, or?
I've dived in and out of it, but I've generally just I wanted to see them in the 3D world. That's
Okay.
why I wanted to create these like cute little figures. Like, I'm just like, who doesn't like these little space adventures? Like, you can just put it on your desk and just like admire him just like doing whatever. I've even thought about making like little sets to go with, like
okay.
for kids. I mean, if they want to collect my stuff, that's like totally fine with me. And like, it'd be cool to see like some kids just like playing with my stuff and like trying to create their own little adventures.
Okay.
Like, I mean, with creating the space adventures, I probably would just leave it open as like the kids and the family and the collectors, they create their stories.
Okay. So, like we were talking about in the car earlier, with your Patreon, would you ever sell your Space Adventure figures, you think? Or would you just explain exactly how to make them? Or are they too personal as well with that? You just say make your own kind of?
Oh, I would love people to start collecting these. Like, I mean, make these characters to show people that, like I like them.
Yeah.
So why not you like them? It's like you were talking about, like, just you have your different figure lines of toy lines. You collect them because, like, they're interesting, they're cool to you, they're fun to play with and stuff. So if I have kids like playing with mine, it's just like, oh, I've got the new thing that people like. Obviously, I don't like mass produce like other people, like companies do, but I'll do the best I can.
So with kids playing with them, are you like, would it be clay then, or would you make it out of like a polymer or a plastic?
So that
or
has
something
to
like
do
that,
with the mold.
Okay.
So I would cast it in resin.
Yeah.
And that's plastic. So
yeah. So
like,
I mean, it'd be durable enough.
So it's durable, and then it's just painting it from there. And I use basically model paint at this point, and it looks nice. So like, kind of just where they take it. I mean, paint on toys usually chips, anyways.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're playing with it. So.
Yeah. No, I had a toy when I was a kid. I'm not sure if you ever watched wrestling as a kid. I loved wrestling as a kid.
The WrestleMania stuff?
Oh, I loved it. There's this wrestler named Bill Goldberg. I used to watch him all the time as a little kid. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. I had his toy, though, and it came with his car and everything. I played the toy so much, the paint came off his chest. Yeah. So you could see, like, there was, like, he wore a black shirt, but it was a white stripe of his skin with his nipples hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why they put the nipples on him, but they were there, and so, like, anything we played with.
He had a singlet on, you gotta, like, sculpt those in.
Exactly. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it's like he wasn't a singlet. It was supposed to be, like, this outside toy in addition of wrestlers. Like, it's supposed to be them outside wrestling.
Oh, so he didn't have a shirt.
Yeah, he had, like, it was, like, they painted a black shirt on him with black pants, stuff like that.
Oh, so he was sculpted as if he didn't have a shirt on.
Yeah, and then they painted a shirt on him.
That's kind
and so when they did that, it's like I played with him enough times that I'd throw him off my apartment when I lived there and all that stuff. We'd throw him off the apartment to see if he'd fly. We'd tie bags on him, stuff like that. And so when we did that, it's like, you could tell it was a cheap toy, but it's like it was my favorite toy still. So I was just kind of it's like one of those things that's kind of interesting to see like how they're actually made, because I remember like looking at his beard and stuff like that. They actually had like the lines drawn on his beard and everything too. And I probably shouldn't have played with it like I did. I wrecked that toy. Like he was missing a head by the end of his time. He was missing his leg, and it's like.
That's usually what kids do, though. That's the sad part.
Yeah, well, we had fun with it, though. I mean, that's the point of the toy.
You have fun. Like, I mean, the thing about me is that I think about like when I played with my figures, and then I'm almost like, crap, I shouldn't have broken that. I would really like to have that in my collection right now. That's how I feel.
I had a Pokédex as a kid, and I really wish it got stolen off the bus.
Ooh.
I was so mad. Like, I was so upset because, like, when we were growing up, Pokemon was the rage. It was huge. And, like, I remember, like, it's coming back now, too, with the whole Pokemon Go and all that stuff, too. So I think it's kind of cool. Like, and it's like, I remember when my Pokédex got stolen, it was literally, like, my day was shattered. I had like PTSD almost. Like I kept thinking, I need to play with it. I wanted to play with it again. And it was only for like the first 150 Pokemon. Didn't have 151. Didn't have Mew in it. It was literally just 150 Pokemon. And I have a picture with it too. And it's like, it's a weird picture because I was a weird kid. But it's like,
I know it.
Yeah. And so it's like, whatever. I'm gonna own it. And so it's like the pictures of me like holding the Pokédex, like I was like holding like some other thing to be framed of. And so it's pretty ridiculous, but, I mean, toys are toys, that people like them. I mean, some people just collect them their whole lives, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm still a collector, and I'm proud of it. So it's just a matter of what you do with your collection now versus then. I mean, I'm not going to say you can't play with stuff if you're an adult. I mean, do what you can. Have fun with it.
Yeah. I mean, do what you love, right?
Exactly.
So that's why I'm just trying to, like... That's what this whole podcast is. Like I said, I love talking. I love learning about people. I love learning what insight people have, because it's like, it's really a way to learn who someone is, kind of. It's also that, seeing what their passions are, hearing them talk about their passions, because you really get an insight of what their beliefs are, what they want you to think, what they really are into as well. And so it's like, I love hearing stuff like that. So it's like, that's why I love hearing about you talk about your sculptures, because I can tell you really do have a passion for it, compared to like some people who just do it as a side thing, like, whatever.
I mean, you have your traditional Instagram artists.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, just like doing their thing and just being like, oh, look at what I made. It's just
those
like,
people who are just talented but don't give a shit, kind of.
Maybe. I mean, some are talented.
Yeah.
I get that.
You're calling out people. Some are talented.
I mean, like, you either have it or you don't, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
It's not necessarily like calling them out. I mean, I'd say just like, if you enjoy it, go for it. Do it. Doesn't mean...
Have fun with what you do, but at least they don't, like... Try saying you're better than everyone else, though. Still, like, humble yourself a little bit, but have fun with it and everything.
Yeah, keep humble.
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar, be humble. I got it. Not sure if you listen to rap.
Lots of people have said that, but more recently.
I know. Yeah, I know. I just like, I'm a huge Kendrick Lamar fan.
Oh yeah.
Ever since I was like first heard him, I've been a Kendrick Lamar fan. But yeah, no, I mean, is there any other things that you just delve into besides like just sketching and modeling, or is it like? Have you ever like delved into photography, or you delved into like now you're doing video editing for your YouTube videos? Is it something that you'd like to do a lot more, or?
I mean, like I said before, it's all fun. Like it's all has its own knack to it, but like, I mean, video editing is just a process to what I do. Like, it's less of the process, it's more of the product. Like sculpture, like I like the finished thing. Whereas like sketching's always fun. Painting I do as a hobby. I mean, if people would like to see me like paint on the show, I can do that too. But painting is kind of an interesting process because it can kind of take... it's hard to show it off, I guess. Yeah,
I get that. I have a buddy who actually does painting, and she was telling me, like, she does oil paintings, and she says, she just tells me how long it takes as well with it. She's like, they never really dry officially for a long, long, long time. And she was saying, like, she's done a couple paintings. She did a painting of Zakk Wylde recently as well with his guitar and everything. He's the guitarist of Ozzy Osbourne's band. And she recently did a picture from me and Mac, actually, of Jim Morrison laying on the stage. I'll link the picture in the description, but it's like, it's his most iconic picture in my opinion, because it's like, it's this picture of him falling down, and she did it in her first time using charcoal. And it was the first time using it, and she killed it. And now she's going to be coming over here one of these days too, hopefully. She said she's going to do, we're going to be repainting this wall for the studio as well with that, with our favorite dead artists. So I have like Johnny Cash on there, Kurt Cobain, all this stuff on there. And so we're going to smooth all this out and everything too. And so it'll look good, hopefully. And so she wants to do that too. And I think it's interesting, like painting I could never do. That's one thing I will never try probably either.
See colors.
Yeah, I'm just terrible at it. Like, I'm just terrible. Like, I'm not a good artist in general. Like, painting, drawing, stuff like that. I just don't have that knack. My whole family does, but it's eluded me pretty much.
Oh, okay.
It's like my cousins, they've all been artists. My mom's an artist. My dad and my grandpa can draw. I've just never been able to draw, though. It's not one of those mediums I can work in.
And to me, it's like the completely opposite. I mean, like, I'd say people in my family have, like, a knack for detail in and of itself, like, just keeping details, but, like, I'm the artist of the family. Like, I'm the one that's, like, shined and stuff.
So you're, like, the creative one with the creative outlet ability.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. See, my dad, he played violin growing up. My dad was an artist. My dad does architecture. Now he designs guns. He builds guns, too. Okay. So he sells his own guns and everything like that, too. So he's, like, really big into, like, how he makes it look and all that.
How much in depth of the gun creation does he do? Because that's very, I mean,
yeah, he does everything. He from creating the barrel to like creating the woods, the stock, everything. Okay. Like he forges his own barrels. He buys all the material, creates everything. He specializes in old school guns like muskets and all that stuff. So he loves the way that like how they look, how ornate they are. So he puts the detail in, like the brass finishes on the sides of them. He'll redesign their stock, everything like that too. And my dad's extremely creative. My dad's extremely smart, but it's like that eluded me entirely. Like I can see it, like I can see it in my head, but I can't ever design it. I can't make it. So I have that kind of like struggle. Like I can get it out of my head, but I can't get it out onto paper. I can't. Like I tried drawing, but it's like I got kicked out of art class. I tried stained glass. I got glass in my eye. I tried doing pottery. Couldn't make a mug, and so I was like, it's stuff I just never been good at.
That's the thing about pottery is that you don't always have to make a mug, though. That's like, pottery. I guess ceramics.
Yeah, ceramics. My bad. That's ceramics. My bad.
Well, I mean, like you can call it pottery still, but like, it's just a matter: are you making pots or not?
Yeah. Well, so they gave us a couple things to try. So she's like, we're going to teach you how to make the little, she's like, there's like snakes kind of. And we're going to roll them into like into like a cylinder, and it's going to be your cup. And then you're going to smooth the inside out, and then you're going to water it down, smooth it out, and that's going to be your mug. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll figure it out. And little did I know, I didn't know I was doing it all. And so, like I said.
Well, that many times that can maybe be the teacher, though. The teacher's not like, the teacher's got to slow down and speed up with the class. Like, I think, like, that's, when it comes to elementary all the way, like, K through 12, like, it's hard to, like, art teachers, like, they don't necessarily, like, teach. They kind of just let you do, which you should just do, generally, but, like...
Yeah, like, art's its own freedom, but if you want to learn how to be...
But if you want to learn, there are some rules, some guidelines that you got to know that'll only help you in succeeding in what you do.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, my art teachers weren't like terrible, but they weren't great. Like Mr. Finch definitely did teach me a lot more than I knew, but I was just such a young age that I just didn't give a shit enough to learn.
I always felt like I was more self-taught because like I wanted to do something else. Like, I wanted to do something more, and they were just do this, do that, and so I just did it. But like I didn't actually really take. They have like AP art in high school. I didn't even take that because like it was almost like a waste of time, and I was just like, oh, let's just take art 1 and art 2 and like, get into this. And
see, when I was in class, I remember one of the drawings that actually almost got me kicked out of class was we had to recreate a Renaissance picture. That was the idea of it. Like we had to redraw a Renaissance picture. And he says, if you want to add stuff to it, add stuff to it. So I'm like, oh, okay. I took the idea and I ran with it. I got a picture of Mona Lisa, and I stitched one of her eyes shut. I drew a tear tattoo on her eyes. I gave her dreadlocks, and I gave her a hickey on her neck. And he did not like that at all. Like I'm like, it's my own. Like I'm like, I don't like the way normal people look sometimes. That's why I like tattoos. That's why I like those. I like people who are out there, you know.
Well, he said he gave you liberty to do what you wanted.
Yeah, but he's like my liberty was not that extended out pretty much. He's like I want you to like add stuff, like you can add a flower, you can add like how she looks a little bit, but it's like you basically deviated from the picture so much it doesn't look like a normal picture anymore. Because I gave her a side profile too a little bit too, and she had like a tattoo as well with that. And I'm like, I just liked it. I mean, like I said, I like the idea.
That's the idea. You do it because you like it, and then if it looks good, it looks good.
Oh, it didn't look great, but it didn't look terrible.
I mean, well, as you said, you didn't say you were the best artist out there, so.
No, I drew that one, and I drew a couple ones like that.
I mean, growing up, like, I used to draw things that teachers hated. Like, I mean, you know how Jurassic Park has all the, like, eating people and stuff?
Yeah.
I drew, like, gory things.
Oh yeah, I did that too.
It was just how I was like. It was nothing wrong with me. I just kind of did it just to do it.
But the thing is, like when you draw stuff like it too, it opens up like fascination as well, like anatomy as well with that, where you gotta understand like what's inside somebody to draw that directly.
I mean, it was nothing about like killing people. It was more of like. How do kids like view death anyways? It's completely different.
Yeah, kids don't have a grasp of death yet until you become more of an adult or until it hits you hard.
I just thought it was cool that the dinosaur was doing what the dinosaur did. Like, it's a carnivore, it eats things, so that's what I did.
Yeah, I guess that. I remember in same teacher, Mr. Finch, he taught the junior high and the high school classes. My junior high class, I drew a graboid from Tremors. And he was eating somebody. It was from Tremors 2. There's a scene in the beginning of the movie where there's this dude jumping across barrels, and he jumps up, and the graboid gets him. And so it was that scene where the beak is like right above his face and all that. And I drew that. It was a very crude drawing, obviously, but it was I drew that, but it's like I drew it with color. And so there was like blood and all that stuff, and so he's like, "That's too deep. That's too dark. You can't draw that." And I'm like, I have a dark personality. I've always had a dark personality since I was a little kid.
Like it's more of like just like it's creative. Like I actually had this professor who he pushed me in that direction. Like one of my pieces was Grendel because we were supposed to do like a mythological piece, like a being.
Yeah, and what's like, Grendel? I don't recognize that.
Grendel, Beowulf.
Oh, Beowulf.
That one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So he saw my piece, and like during critique day, he's like he does like LDS temples, and he works for Ensign and all that type of stuff.
Okay.
Like he'll do commissions for them when they ask and stuff. But like when he was talking to me, he's just like, more blood. And I'm just like, okay.
You got it.
And I'm just like when I was younger, teachers like tell you not to do that. And I'm just like, well, you gotta watch the kid, make sure he's not crazy, but don't deny what he's like creating as a picture or an art piece.
I get that. I mean, that's the thing about teaching art. It's hard to teach art because art should be its own freedom, but it's also like you want to help them learn things that will help them improve that idea they have in their head. So it's like you really have to find that one person because not everyone learns the same way either. And I can only imagine how hard it would be to teach art in general. Like there's so many different kind of mediums of art, like from Navajo, like sand art. Like that's a big one for my culture as well with that. And I couldn't do that if I wanted to save my life.
You said sand art, right?
Yeah, like one behind you right there.
I took a class about Native American art.
Oh, really?
Northern Native American art.
Okay.
So we learned a little bit about that. Each of us had different like presentations about different things, and it was nice to hear about different art that the Native Americans
Did you guys get like assigned tribes you had to do? Or
we kind of chose like the idea. So I did the art of weaponry actually.
Okay.
So I kind of like pushed it because like my professor, she told us to pick a subject that was interesting that you wanted to do, but still would be able to be researched, and so very collegiate, but she pushed us in a direction that would help us write an educational paper and have an educational presentation.
Okay. What weapon did you choose then? Like, did you choose like the standard tomahawk or the bow and arrow?
So I actually did all the weapons, like all the generic ones.
Okay.
Like you have, but I chose, I think it was, I don't remember exactly, but it was like the the Midwest versus like the Eastern.
Okay.
So the weapons and their differences and how they correlate, how are they similar, how are they different, and so I did a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because if you look at some tribes, they all usually share like a symbolism or they share a style
like they have
as
a
well.
club, they all have a spear,
Exactly,
they have
and like
bows and arrows.
even the way they design stuff, or the way they even like artistry, like as well with that. Like the Apache and Navajo came from the same tribe directly, so a lot of their stuff correlates actually being similar, or it looks at least the same itself. So it's always interesting. Like I always want to do sand art. My little sister does beading, which is cool.
Okay.
Like I've never done anything like that.
We talked a lot about beading.
And that's what she does. She does like the micro beads, like the small ones. She does all that. She learned. My mom used to do it all the time when I was a kid. That's how we'd get money. My mom would go to the flea market and she would sell like little lighter cases and pen cases. She still has them too, and she has like these big barrels just full of like little beads and stuff like that. And so it's just one of the things I just never could pick up either. Like I just never picked up anything like that directly. And so I find it just interesting when I see like how much detail you can put into certain things. Like the sandwork behind you, I think is kind of cool. I picked it up actually recently, about a couple months ago, and I just could never do anything like that, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. I remember taking a trip down to New Mexico and went through Old Town, and that stuff is beautiful. Like, I mean, their houses are clay, so.
Yeah, no, I know. We lived in Hogan for a little bit, too.
Oh, okay.
So, like, there was a clay house there. I mean, if you look back at the further back than that, obviously the Apaches, they had the abodes and all that, where they would build their houses out of the side of the mountains, everything like that. So it's kind of cool to see people who do that. Like,
definitely.
Hogans are basically mud huts, is the best way to say it. They had to bake it and everything too, so it's kind of cool when you see stuff like that. So
it's just like making giant pottery.
You're sitting there like that's what you like to do, is just play with mud, I guess.
At least it's purposeful.
Yeah, it's got a purpose at least, but
I mean, like, of course pottery does, but like, I don't know. I think I like how my stuff is more about the entertainment. So.
Okay. So with like that pottery stuff, are you ever like, do you ever see anything that's kind of cool, like the old school like Greek ones? They had the paintings on the side, stuff like that.
They're classic. I mean, a lot of times I feel that's like obviously it had its artistic influence, but it has more of a historic influence.
Okay.
So it's like, you get to see like where it fits into the timeline and how we got to where we are within our learnings of pottery. Because like you have different styles of firing, you have different styles of glazing, you have different styles of just
so like
really.
There's different styles of everything you do, like molding, texturizing, all that stuff too. And
like I don't even have to use like silicone for my molding. It's just like the medium that I chose and that I know.
Okay. So, I mean, it's kind of cool. I mean, like I said, I love the Godzilla. The Godzilla is dope because it's like, you can see like the muscle structure, even in his leg and stuff like that too, his tail
and that also
all that.
helps with the design because this is based on the most recent Godzilla film, which is the one on Netflix.
Yeah. Is that your favorite Godzilla or?
No, just I figured I didn't have anything in my collection like to represent that one, so I chose to make that one.
What's your favorite Godzilla then?
Look-wise, it's been over 60 years, so probably from the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not the Matthew Broderick one.
Not the Matthew Broderick one, no.
I actually, like when I was a little kid, when I was like really little.
Oh yeah, if you're a little kid, you love that.
I loved it. I'm not gonna deny it. That scene where he's like got the camera and he's looking up and Godzilla's like about to step on him. When I was a kid, that was awesome to me.
Definitely.
But it's like, everyone has their own little taste. But it's like, Godzilla was never my forte directly as movies. Like, I loved him still, but it was always Tremors. Tremors was my movie.
Yeah.
Tremors and Gremlins. Like, those are the two movies.
Yeah. I just recently, I think it was like 2 winters ago, was finally introduced to Gremlins. Like, I was just like, because I noticed it was the same director as the 90s movie Small Soldiers.
Oh, really?
So I was just like, okay, there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be watching this. And I was just like, these are puppets, these are sculptures, these are right up my alley.
Oh yeah.
Let's actually watch it. And then I watched it, and then loved it. And then the second one was on next, and so I watched that one and loved it even more. And
I love Gremlins, dude. It's like one of my favorite movies. Like I watch it every year at Christmas. It's that movie I watch. Like everyone watches it usually Nightmare Before Christmas, stuff like that.
You gotta watch Gremlins.
Gremlins is my movie, dude. Like that was my jam. Like I watched that movie. I can literally quote that movie, and when I'm watching it, it's like there's a couple movies I can completely quote while watching it, and Matt can attest to this. I can literally quote Good Burger. the entire way through the movie. And he was getting annoyed because every time I walked downstairs, they're saying a line, I'd finish the line before they say it. And it's like, I really love like certain movies like that, like nostalgia movies, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Like Gremlins is that movie I watched growing up a lot. It was like one of the movies when we had them. We only had a couple movies, and it was Tremors, Jurassic Park, Gremlins, Full Metal Jacket, which you shouldn't watch when you're 7 years old. I'm not sure. Do you know what that is?
I think isn't it an anime?
No, it's
No, that's something else.
Yeah, that's like Metal Gear Solid.
That's the one where the sergeant is talking to the kids and like swearing up a storm at them.
Yeah, well, it's like it's based on these guys about to go to Vietnam, and and so the guy Stanley Kubrick, the director, wanted to actually break it into two parts of a movie. First part is making a warrior, making a killing machine is the idea of the movie, and the second one is in the war. And the first part is the most devastating part of the whole movie because it's like you're taking these kids who are fresh out of high school and they go into base camp. And Gunny, who recently passed away, actually, he beat these guys down.
He's an amazing actor.
Oh yeah, he ripped them apart though in the movie, and that was like his like first big movie he was in. And so it's like him just yelling at them. He got like what was it? He didn't get an Oscar. He got nominated for something though. I can't remember. I think it was a Golden Globe or something. But he was always like the character. He destroyed these poor guys, and it was interesting to see it because it shows exactly the process of a person becoming a killing machine, and then when he pushed too far, that kills his character in the movie and kills himself in the movie.
Yeah.
And I watched as a little kid, I was 7 years old. Changed my whole perspective of what life is, like how people die, what people are, and it really got me delved into like the inner workings of people. Cause
and I was just sitting there drawing dinosaurs murdering humans. So.
Well, like that was to me when that happened though. It really did open my eyes to a couple things. Like I wanted to see why did he go crazy. That was the main thing I really liked. I really loved, and that's where my interest in people came in from.
Yeah.
Because I love learning about people. I love learning about what their inner workings are, what makes them think what they think, or how they react, or why they are who they are. And so it's stuff like that really interests me. And that movie really kind of pushed that forward. So it's like that's kind of why I like monsters too, though, because they don't really have a thought process. The majority of them, they only have one thing, and it's destroy or kill.
Well, usually monster movies are based on metaphor.
Yeah.
So it's just, the original, like, you got all the way from Kong to Godzilla. They're basically metaphors. Kong is mostly just like a love story, I'd say.
I can see that.
But, like, Godzilla's a complete iteration of a nuclear bomb. And how it's got to stop.
Okay. See, I don't know. I should watch all of the Godzilla movies, but I have a hard time watching dub movies sometimes.
Yeah. The first one, classic, dubbed or not.
Yeah.
The rest, you kind of just have to either
like
enjoy the dub or find the sub somewhere.
Okay.
Because it's meant to be like kind of a weird cheesiness to it.
Okay.
But some are kind of also serious in weird ways too, though.
All right. Who's your favorite Godzilla villain then? Like enemy?
I'd have to give it to Destroya. He's like literally like pretty much the devil.
Okay.
And he's in the movie that Godzilla dies. Spoiler.
Oh shoot. See, I like.
But then he comes back to life, and Godzilla, he's basically invincible. So
yeah, there's a couple of villains that are like the Godzilla things. Like I like Mechagodzilla. I think he's cool looking.
A classic,
he's cool looking. I think he was always dope looking, and Mothra has always been a big one. I always hear about all the time too.
Yeah, we got. You also got King Ghidorah, the three-headed.
Yeah.
Dragon,
okay, I remember that one.
The space monster.
Yeah. Giant wings and everything too.
Yeah, we also got like the new Godzilla movie coming out next year. Like it's just under a year from now.
Is that the Godzilla vs. Kong movie they're remaking?
Oh, not yet. Like this one's gonna have like King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. Dang. So we're gonna see here in America some big characters.
Okay, so when we're talking about that as well, I'm kind of curious exactly. I can't remember what I was gonna say actually. Damn, it's been a long day for me. No, but I've always liked Godzilla. He's one of those characters I think is kind of cool to see as well. I know my little brother is super stoked to see the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie. He keeps telling me about it all the time, and I'm like, he hasn't seen the original one. I'm like, when I was a kid, the original one was a classic when I watched it. I loved it, and so it's like. sure, it was a little cheesy, but that's the fun part about it.
The very first one is like so depressing too. Though.
Yeah, I love those cheesy movies. Though I love cheesy B-roll movies sometimes too. Like,
well, I mean, like you got the current one. You got Rampage, which just barely came out.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet though.
So
I want to see it.
If you want to just see a monster movie, go see it. Basically.
Yeah, my mom said she loved it, and so I'd love to go see it too. But I'm a huge fan of The Rock.
You're talking about this WrestleMania, so
anything The Rock's in, I'm gonna watch it no matter what. It doesn't matter. Like I've seen pretty much I think every movie he's made so far, and it's because I have this weird.
And he's getting so much better now.
I know.
Like I feel like he owns what he is. He's he's a meme.
Yeah, I love it too. Like he knows he's funny. He knows what he's going to do. He knows he's huge, so he plays off on it. And that's my favorite part about it.
Which is what made Rampage even better because it's this huge guy with huge monsters, and it's just like
it's like a 1980s movie all over again.
Basically,
like those big
I miss all those like classic just crappy 90s films that you just love the action out of them.
Yeah.
Like, just enjoy it for what it is. Like, I mean, don't be so critical of it. It's like, the reason why it's good is because of the fact of how crazy it is, how much action and how...
The reason why it's so good is it's
stupid, but it's... Like, I mean, like, that's the bad thing, is like, we call it bad, but... Is it really? Did it accomplish what it was doing?
Yeah, I agree. Like, that's why I love the Evil Dead movies. Evil Dead movies are my all-time favorites. I love B-roll movies, though. I love, like, watching the stupidest B-movies I can find, honestly, sometimes. It's, like, one of those things I just enjoy watching because I find them fun to watch because there's still people who made this movie and they had an idea and they ran with it. And some of those ideas are actually really great. And that's the cool thing about it. It's, like, sure, it's not a award-winning movie, but... It's an idea that it's going to inspire someone else eventually to make something better out of it. And I love that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I love B-roll movies though. Like, I'm trying to think of my favorite one. They have
their place.
Yeah, like was it Tucker, like Dale versus Tucker versus Evil, or it was, or
I think that was like something about college kids, right?
Yeah, like Tucker versus I can't remember what it's called. Do you know what it's called, Mac?
For what?
Tucker versus Dale versus.
No, it was like. A movie where like they think they're killers.
They think they're killers, and then the campers think they're killers too, and they're both killing each other without realizing it on accident, kind of. It's like Dale versus Evil or something.
It was like Dylan Tucker versus Evil or something.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil or something.
Yeah, I think it's that.
Well, I love that movie though. I love that one.
I generally I'm not the biggest fan of the horror genre and all that stuff, but that was just. It was funny, so I enjoyed it.
See, that's my thing. I'm a huge fan of horror. Like, that's my favorite thing in the world is horror movies, like old school horror movies too. Like the bad Friday the 13th, the bad Nightmare on Elm Street.
I'm just not the biggest fan of like the slashers and all this. Just like murder just to murder. But I mean, I think it's just how close it relates to humans. Yeah. Whereas like monster movies, it's just like. Oh, they're just in buildings. They're just you don't see anything.
You don't see it's not personal.
Yeah, it's not personal. That's I think the difference of what I like.
I get that. I don't mind a couple things. Like, I mean, there's like recent horror movie that came out like 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. It's called Hatchet. It was a throwback to like the 1990s, 1980s horror movies, and I loved it because it was like it felt old school, and that's my favorite thing about it. It's the same thing with like. We're all trying to recreate that nostalgia feeling in a lot of things too. Like look at the new Star Wars. The new Star Wars are trying to recreate nostalgia in a lot of them.
I don't think we need necessarily nostalgia though. We just need something like to make it like enjoyable. Yeah. Like just something that the kids will enjoy. Like I feel with the new Star Wars, like they're fine movies. They do what they're doing, but instead of just like trying to recreate the original, just have fun with it. Just create a movie just to have fun within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. Are you excited to see Solo?
I haven't really I mean Star Wars has its place and I'll always go see it, but I haven't been super Star Wars fan since I was like in 5th grade. When Revenge of the Sith came out.
I remember
and
that.
I'm of an unpopular opinion that the prequels are good.
I mean,
The action's good. I don't
Yeah,
care
I know
what you say.
the action's actually fantastic.
Oh,
like
yeah.
their lightsaber fights are way better than the original ones. I won't deny that.
I don't think you can look back and once say you would enjoyed it as a kid, and then now say it's just bad, and now that it's just crap.
Oh yeah, no, there's no denying
I'm
it.
just like
I didn't like the first one because I fell asleep in a lot of it when I was a kid, though,
yeah.
because of how political it was. When I was a kid,
I don't remember that. That's the thing.
I
Like,
remember
you're a
watching
kid.
I remember watching it in theaters, and we'd watch it, and I remember I did fall asleep, and my grandpa had to wake me up. He tapped me on the
yeah.
elbow, and then I remember waking up to Darth Maul.
Oh, yeah.
And Darth Maul was like,
Yeah,
he was great. And so, like, when I first saw the first one, I mean, I wasn't really excited. The second one was dope, though, because the Clone Wars was kind of a cool idea, I
the
thought.
second one actually bored me 10
really?
times as much as the first because like when I watched The Phantom Menace, like my parents dropped me off. I think I was like 4 years old or something
Yeah.
like that. And like I was just sitting in the movie theater, like dark, and with my brothers and sisters around me, like, and we're just like watching Star Wars and loving every minute of it. I mean, I as a 4-year-old, I'm sorry, did not have a problem with Jar Jar.
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
As a 4-year-old, I mean,
I don't think any kids had a problem with him. The issue is the adults did.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like people who are younger than me judge me for liking them, and it's like you didn't have the same experience.
No.
Then, if you saw it at an older age, that means your validity and your cause for thinking that is completely different than where I come from. Then.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, I did not mind the first one only because I loved Darth Maul in that one. And I was a little kid. The second one had a lot more action, so I thought that was great. Like them trying to like fight off all in that giant stadium, the giant monsters in that stadium as well. With that, that was one of my favorite scenes. Then the third one, I remember when that first came out. That was a huge thing. We bought like the Star Wars cups at the theaters and everything too, and I remember, like, I thought that was a great movie, the third one.
Yeah.
But it's like, then you rewatch the originals, and I see why everyone compare it, like, why everyone still loves the originals so much more than the prequels, because the prequels didn't have that feeling almost of, like, of where they came from.
I think that's what I liked about them.
Yeah, I get that.
It's like, it was modernizing it. It was taking it in the right direction. Whereas the new ones, like, they're not bad by any means, but I feel
they're
like
trying too hard to get back old.
Yeah, they're going too much with the nostalgia, and that's what people will say about Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Like the first one of the new series. But I think they forget about it's the same thing with Star Wars. If you're going to say Jurassic World did that, Star Wars did it too.
Okay. So, in recent movies then, what do you mean? Do you like Pacific Rim then? Or
Yeah. I even saw the second one, but
I haven't seen it yet.
not as good. But,
No?
you know, you don't have
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro, and, like, he's who created the world, so it's kind of hard to make a sequel
Yeah, if you
without
don't-
your
to create-
original direction. So
I agree. I mean,
it's good action. Like it's like another Rampage. Like you,
yeah.
but it's just like the action in Rampage was just better in my opinion.
Have you ever thought about making one of the monsters from the Pacific Rim movies, or?
I've kind of like avoided film because, as you can tell, I like making really small things.
Yeah.
Like rather than. Like, because the people who make these, they're generally digital artists now.
Yeah.
And I tend to, like, go away from digital art because it's just, it doesn't feel the same. Like,
Okay.
it's kind of like the whole, like, prequels versus the sequels. Like, it just doesn't feel the same.
That makes sense.
So, I get it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, to each their own. I mean, I get that. There's some people who still prefer like digital. I mean, analog versus digital because they feel it has different feelings. Same with film and digital technology.
Yeah.
Or it's just everyone's got their own preferences in a lot of things. Like personally, I don't like typing on a computer when I write. I still love writing in a notebook because it gives me a more wholesome feeling almost when I'm writing. Because it makes it feel more authentic, like I'm actually doing this, not typing it up, not like I don't know.
Definitely.
It's just small things like that, but it's like
I mean, you have your little gimmicks here and there. I mean, like I don't like power tools, and that's half the reason why I
you don't do like stone and all that.
do stone and stuff. So, like with the little stuff, I can just clay is movable. I can move it wherever I want. It's got the most freedom too.
Yeah, I get that. All right. Oh, you want to call us an end right now?
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys. This is from Cody from All the Way Gray. Thank you again, Richard, for coming out as well with that. And we are going to now finish this up as well. This is our first show. Thank you again all for listening.